It is now 7 o'clock, and I'll call the meeting to order. Can I please get a roll call?
We have 6 counselors present and Counselor Jacobson absent.
Can everyone please join us and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have no special orders of the day today, no public hearings, so we will start off with public comments.
We have reached the point in the agenda for residents to speak to the council about issues that are coming before us or may come before us in the future. Council members may not act on any requests at this meeting, but may refer speaker to staff for assistance. We ask that you hold your comments to 3 minutes or less and refrain from personal attacks of any kind. Public comment is a privilege, and we expect everyone to conduct themselves in a civil manner. Speakers are asked to complete a public comment form and turn it in prior to our meeting. Each individual will be invited to the podium and asked to state your name and address for the record. Our first speaker tonight is Eric Otis Johnson. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Eric Johnson, 2386 Terrace Court, Beloit, Wisconsin, 53511. The reason I'm here today is I've been bounced through the municipal court process for trying to improve my landscaping at home. Years and years ago, as all of you would be well aware of, at Riverside Park and many other locations throughout the city has started a more native style of landscaping with native tall grasses as ornamentals and wildflowers, etc. In 2017, I was cited for having noxious weeds on my property as I was attempting to grow my own patches of native wildflowers and tall grasses. I removed the noxious weeds, and in an attempt to try to make sure that everything was good with the amount of size and scope of my landscaping plan, requested for a landscape management plan that was then denied through the appeals process. I then reduced the amount of tall grass landscaping that I had to fall within compliance of the average of 8 inches of tall grass on a property, and have since just been fighting an uphill battle and not really getting any kind of communication or traction. I went as far as to go all the way to the county board or appeals level, and was told by a counselor at that point that no one would workshop with me to try to figure out a solution until that was put to bed, because there was a legal matter that was pending. So that stopped. I decided to just drop my battle at that point and hopefully come back to the table to be able to have some constructive conversations with some people who might be able to make some changes. Within a week of my dropping what I was going through at the county level, I received a letter on June 10th that was just targeted to residents of Lathers Woods. No other residents in the city of Beloit, just residents of Lathers Woods. And it was I know it was specifically targeted for what I was doing with my landscaping. There's lots of other landscaping in Lathers Woods that looks very, very similar to the landscaping that I have. So within a week, I get this letter about holding your yard up to the standards of the code, and then within July 17th, I got my first notice of violation. I submitted phone calls to the city manager on June 10th that weren't returned. I submitted phone calls to Clinton Anderson that weren't returned. And now I'm back into a municipal court battle again, which from my understanding of municipal code, if I'm in municipal court, I can't deal with just a standard administrative appeals process. So now the city has to spend their time, money, and effort to battle this legally. I have to spend my time, money, and effort to battle this legally. And as you can see in the pictures that I've submitted, my yard looks like a golf course. I've currently faced $2,400 in fines to be able to have the landscaping that I have right now. And it's a shame that I'm having to go through what I have to go through without getting the communication that I'm getting.
I was just trying to alert you to the time.
And I've also had meetings with staff that have just fallen on deaf ears. It's been highly frustrating. My grass does not exceed an average of 8 inches. Nowhere has the city of Beloit ever even calculated an average. There's points in my landscaping where it exceeds 8 inches, yes. But I was the only person in Lathers Woods that was targeted and cited after that citation letter, or the warning letter was set out on June 10th. The letter went out to 100 neighbors. One complaint comes in, and I'm the only one who gets the citation. Out of 100 other neighbors, and many of them with similar types of landscaping, no one else gets a citation, but yet city staff says I'm not being targeted.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Are there any other members of the public wishing to address the council this evening?
Madam President, you should have three over there from some youth who would like to speak this evening on vaping,
Okay,
and there's a
that was
handout
fine.
at each
Okay.
of your chairs.
Yes. First up, we have Jasmine Zuniga, I hope I pronounced that right, and Carolyn Guevara. Can you come forward, please? I apologize, that was on the left side, I didn't see it. If you could state your name and address for the record.
Jasmine Zuniga, 930 Highland Avenue.
Carolyn Guevara, 243 Roosevelt Avenue. Okay, so first off, we would like to thank all of you who took the time to go over what we proposed to you, and for considering adding vaping to the smoke-free air policy.
Not only will it make the workplace better and safer, it's another step for youth to change the norm and to help them understand that it's harmful and that they can make better decisions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Fran Cruzen. Fran, could you come forward and state your name and address for the record, please?
Fran Frusen, 1726 Garfield, Beloit, Wisconsin. You know, it was just a few years ago when they said it couldn't be done. We can't stop smoking in restaurants. It would cause them to shut down. Hundreds of jobs would be lost. Did that happen? No. Rather, it resulted in a family more orientated place for families to go. And as a result, restaurant business in Wisconsin is now booming. But what happened? Big companies, including many tobacco companies, seeing their revenues decline because teen smoking was also declining now, decided to introduce a more dangerous and more insidious tobacco product in the form of e-cigarettes, under the guise that it would prevent youth from starting to use cigarette products. Now, you'd be hard-pressed to find any reliable research that shows e-cigarettes prevents the start of regular cigarette use by youth. Now, why is that? For one, there's no flame, no matches required. There are over 200 brands of e-cigarettes on the market. And if you believe this, over 1,000 different flavors that have been concocted to appeal to youth. They're odorless, so it's very difficult to detect. Now, if tobacco was the slow killer of the past, e-cigarettes speeds up the process 100%. In fact, the rise of e-cigarette youth in the past year has been so great that the Surgeon General has come out with a warning stating that if it continued, he would order a ban on all e-cigarettes sales. Sorry to say, that has not yet happened. Closer to home in the past few months, over 150 youth and Wisconsin citizens have been rushed to emergency rooms suffering from the effects of e-cigarettes, usually regarding the lungs and heart. Interesting also that 90% of those interviewed indicated that they were vaping e-cigarettes prior to their illness. Now, there are already over 50 communities in Wisconsin that have upgraded their smoke-free ordinance on tobacco to include e-cigarettes. And we believe it is time for Beloit to do the same. We can't wait until we read some headline in the Beloit Daily News that one of our youth, indeed one of our citizens, have been rushed to the emergency room because of the ill effects of e-cigarettes. Now, we don't have to start from square one on this. We already have a good smoke-free ordinance. We need only to amend that ordinance to include e-cigarettes. In conclude, I would like to congratulate you as a city council for your timely passing of the current smoke ordinance that we now have in place. It certainly has had a positive impact in our community. Not only in our community, but the rest of the state. Because I was quick to notice that as soon as we passed ours, the state followed with its own legislation, which resulted in tobacco-free Wisconsin. So let's do it again. The very lives of our youth, indeed of all of our citizens, maybe will depend upon it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bush. Next, we have Debbie Fisher. Debbie, can you come forward and give your name and your address for the record, please?
Debbie Fisher, I'm the Director of Youth for Change. I live at 1477 Fisher Road in South Beloit, and our office is located at 416 College Street in Beloit. I'm very happy that the City Council is looking at the dangers of e-cigarettes and vaping and considering a policy that could have a positive impact on the City of Beloit, not just the youth, but the entire city. The United States Surgeon General has called vaping an epidemic. And the reason for that is currently 21% of youth in the nation vape, where only 3% of adults vape. Although this is a national stat, that's what's happening in Beloit as well. 20% of our kids are vaping at this time. We've made incredible impact with smoking. In 2017, our high school rates were down to 7%. Now our vaping rate is up to 20%. So this vaping epidemic has taken over. In fact, we had a 75% increase from 2015 to 2017. So it's really taken on. E-cigarettes have many of the same ingredients as a cigarette, but some ingredients that are not in cigarettes are causing early onset lung damage. The thing about cigarettes is a lot of times the lungs, you don't see the problems for years to come. But what we're seeing with e-cigarettes is happening very fast. You've probably heard in the news about over 30 people in Wisconsin being taken to the hospital because of lung problems. And there was recently a death in Illinois due to this. What I did find out at a conference last week is the 30 people that have been taken had THC. It wasn't nicotine. So that's the one thing I wanted to point out is we're not only concerned about the nicotine, but it's THC. They've even had kids that have tried to vape alcohol. Almost any kind of drug can be made into a liquid and vaped. And that makes it very hard for our law enforcement when they're trying to control what's on the roads and things. The secondhand smoke research has not been confirmed yet, but if you think about it, all the smoke that comes out of these things and all of the ingredients that we're finding day after day, something new, people are going to inhale that, and we are going to have health problems from that. So this ordinance that you're looking at is going to be good because it won't only protect the people that are working there, but it'll protect the people that are coming there. But my biggest thing that this ordinance will help, I think it's going to change the norm for our youth. Right now, vaping, they feel it's nothing. They feel it's flavored water. They don't know how dangerous this stuff is. When we place an ordinance that says this isn't the norm, that these aren't allowed here, we're starting to change that norm for them. And that's one of the most important things to me. Our mission, our coalition, is to reduce substance abuse among youth and promote healthy lifestyles through education and advocacy. What you're considering tonight is doing exactly that. And believe me, I thank you, and so does our coalition.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Are there any other members of the public wishing to address the council this evening? Are there any other members of the public wishing to address the council this evening? If there are no other public comments, we will go on to item 6, to the consent agenda.
All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda.
Would any counselor like anything removed from the consent agenda? The consent agenda consists of items 6A through 6H. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
There's a first by Counselor Blakely, a second by Counselor Forbeck. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7A.
Consideration of Resolution 2019-117 for approval denial of applicants for an alcohol beverage operator bartender's license for the years 2019-2021. You have before you 22 applications, 21 of them for approval, 1 for denial. The time to appeal for that denial has passed.
Is there a motion to approve item 7A?
So moved.
Okay, there's a first by Counselor Prussia. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Forbeck. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that said, motion carries.
Under ordinances this evening, there are 5. 8A is consideration of ordinance number 3658 to create section 6.04 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Beloit pertaining to fire inspections. This is your second reading.
Deputy Chief Murray.
Yes. Good evening, councilors. Second reading tonight for the ordinance change. Guess I'm looking for if you have any questions on this ordinance change, or if you need any information from the staff report.
This is a second reading. Does anyone have any questions for Deputy Chief Murray?
I move approval of item 8A.
Okay, so we have a
Second.
motion by Counselor Levy and a second by Counselor Pritchell. Any discussion at all?
I'd just like to say this is a good move and a move in the right direction. Quality over quantity. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have a first and a second. Any opposed? I guess I'll go back. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Under item 8B, we have consideration of ordinance number 3659, amending section 15.24 sub 4 pertaining to charges of fault for false burglar alarms. This is second reading.
Move approval of item 8B.
Okay, we have a motion made by Counselor Levy. Is there a second? Second by Counselor Blakely. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Under item 8C, consideration of ordinance number 3660 to amend sections 1506 sub 4 sub B1 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Beloit pertaining to alcohol sales, consumption, and possession in and on streets and other public places. This is Welty Center. This will be first reading, and they are asking this evening for suspension of the rules for a second reading.
And our Public Works Director, Laura Williamson, will provide a summary of this request.
Good evening. The Friends of Welty Center are requesting that they would be permitted to do some fundraising events at the Big Hill Center in honor of all the great work that the Welty Center is doing. Executive Director Brenda Planicus is in the audience tonight as well. And this request is for up to 3 events each year that they would be allowed to do. It would be a ticketed item. It would be open to the public to sell alcohol for their fundraising events. They are requesting that you would consider a second reading for this evening because they do have their first event, providing you would approve that, planned for October 18th.
Thank you.
I move, Mayor.
Okay, is there a motion to suspend the rules first?
I move to suspend the rules for the second
Second.
reading.
I'll
Okay,
second
Counselor
that.
Blakely was the first, second by Counselor Prussia. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve item 8C?
So moved.
Okay, there's a
Second.
motion by Counselor Prussia. There's a second by Counselor Forbeck. Any discussion?
Yes. I just want to make a brief comment that we really appreciate the Welty Environmental Center. And it was great of you to be here this evening, Brenda, to represent the center. They do really good work, and if they can have these events with alcohol allowed at 3 of them, I don't see why not. You do good work.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you. So we have a first and second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Under item 8D, we have consideration of ordinance number 3662 to create section 1802 sub 15 sub P of the Code of General Ordinances pertaining, this is authorizing an annual anniversary event sponsored by the Beloit Youth Hockey Association. This is first reading. They are also seeking to suspend the rules for second reading.
Okay, our Public Works Director, Laura Williamson, will provide another summary of this request.
Fundraising is in the air. It's that time of the year. Again, this is another great partnership that we've had for a number of years with the Beloit Youth Hockey Association. They're celebrating 50 years. That's quite outstanding. And again, they have an event coming up on September 28th, hence the reason for the request for a second reading for some fundraising and again, the ability to sell some alcohol to the public there.
Thank you.
I moved.
Motion to suspend the rules.
I so move.
Okay, Counselor Forbeck, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice President Anderson. Any discussion?
Just like one quick comment.
Go ahead.
Just
Vice
for the
President
record, I
Anderson.
am involved with the Hockey Association, but I receive no financial benefit from that program.
Thank you. So it's been first and we got a second. Any further discussion?
I had one.
Go ahead, City Manager Luther.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify, particularly given some of our audience this evening, that these events all require that there be licensed bartenders on site. They require that adults only, individuals 21 and older, are allowed to be sold to, and precautions are taken to make sure that individuals are being carded. So I wanted to just make sure that we were, although we're quite accustomed to those rules because those are standard for events that are held at these locations, I wanted to make sure that we were making our audience aware of the fact that these are events that are tailored to adults 21 and over, and that precautions are taken to make sure that all safety measures are observed.
And I believe this particular event is an anniversary celebration.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, so we've had a motion, we got a second on the floor. So any other further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that said, motion carries.
Now we need to vote on the ordinance.
Okay.
Oh, that was for
Is there a
the,
motion
yeah.
to approve item 8D?
I so move.
Okay, it's moved by Forbeck, a second by Councilor Blakely. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that said, motion carries.
Item 8E, consideration of ordinance number 3663 to amend certain provisions of section 1608 and to create 16085 of the Code of General Ordinances for the city of Beloit relating to smoking, tobacco products, vapor products, and electronic delivery devices. This is first reading.
And our city manager will provide a report for us.
Thank you very much. So as the council is aware, individuals from Youth to Youth were present earlier this year, and we've heard previous presentations from them advocating for the safety of our youth and the safety of all residents within the city of Beloit. So I'm pleased to bring forward to you, as the city attorney's office has drafted, an ordinance that does two very significant things. One, as you heard this evening, it makes sure that no one is allowed to use electronic devices, whether they be e-cigarettes or Juuls or any of the other brand names that are advancing. None of those devices would be permitted anywhere that you currently are not able to smoke a cigarette or a cigar. So all of those public places would be prohibited in the city of Beloit, just like any other smoking device. In addition to that, however, in recognizing how particularly concerning the negative effects are with juveniles, this ordinance would actually make it unlawful for anyone under the age of 18 to possess an electronic device, whether that device contains nicotine or not. Rather than opening a door for, oh, this is an empty device, echo. So the purpose of that is making the message very, very clear to the youth in our community that these are dangerous devices. And we are hearing more and more through news media channels as close as Milwaukee recently, but we are seeing fatalities occur and serious diseases in addition to those fatalities. So this is a very dangerous situation. Staff wanted to be as responsive as possible in looking at this ordinance, and this is the most broad-reaching effort that we thought could help you tackle that issue. Clearly, the City Council was very strongly in support of pursuing ordinance revisions to address these issues and to be on the front and leading edge of addressing this as a public safety concern. So, what you have before you, again, would make it unlawful not only for those under the age of 18 to possess, but further, it prohibits anyone from furnishing such devices to minors. So I would anticipate that in our future partnerships with Youth to Youth, when minors under the supervision of the police department go in to attempt to purchase alcohol when they're underage, we can also pursue purchasing any of these electronic devices and address those concerns as well. So I would be happy to respond to any questions. Once this, and assuming this becomes official, we have a social media campaign and public information campaign that we will be very engaged in making sure that everyone is aware. I'm already partnering with the school superintendent. They already have policies in place, and cannot speak to the enforcement of those policies in the past, but I know that the superintendent, Dr. Monroe, is very much in lockstep with the city, and if this becomes a city code, they will follow through with their policies. So there would, in addition to being violations of school policies, there would be potential code in order to make very clear that we believe that these are dangerous devices and that there are public safety and public health, concerns that they are likely not aware of the risk that they are undertaking. And while adults may choose to engage in that behavior, it is certainly within your jurisdiction to determine that it is too dangerous for juveniles to make that choice.
Yes, two things. Number one, once again, a compliment to our staff, because after I had the opportunity to meet with one of our lovely young women who are on the Youth to Youth and her staff person, when I called, not only was this already happening, as far as a change to the ordinance, but also it seems to me that once again we have a really well-written ordinance, and Fran, wouldn't it be nice if the state would take us up on this? So I also would like to move that we suspend the first reading and say that this is the second reading for this ordinance.
So we have a first by Councilor Forbeck. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice President Anderson. Any further discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilor Blakely.
I agree completely with Youth to Youth stand and Mr. Fruzen's stand and the general idea of making public health and safety a major priority, especially when it comes to helping to take care of our young people and helping you all take care of yourselves better. My one concern about moving it to a second reading tonight is simply the matter of notifying the public very thoroughly. I know we have a great person in charge of communications for the city, but I would like to hear more about the plan for letting the community know at large. Because I know, as the city manager said, that this law is not intended to be punitive. Fines are relatively low, $50 and $100, and yet for some people that will be punitive. And I don't like the idea of, although it needs to be done relatively quickly because of the illnesses that are being made public and even the deaths here and there. That's why I'm saying that I support this. I'm merely concerned about notifying the public. And I'd like to hear a little more about how that's going to be done, if we could.
So I can certainly speak to that. I would also suggest that if it is the purview of the council to suspend the rules, I would expect that we would use our discretion in enforcing those laws. Again, the intent is not to create revenue for the city of Beloit. It is so that we can, as a policy decision, what I was hearing from the council was an interest in making a public health statement and supporting the youth that have come forward to you and asked for these changes. So, I would not suggest that we begin the moment this is published. If it were adopted this evening, approximately next Tuesday or Wednesday, that we engage in a very aggressive enforcement campaign with youth. That is certainly not the approach that we would take. It's just the time within which you would like to see this become law, if that is the direction that you're headed. So I would be relying upon the police chief and his staff from their enforcement standpoint. We have materials that have already been produced to share, and I expect that there will be significant media coverage given the sensitivity to this issue, not only in the state, but across the country.
And I would echo that too as well, City Manager. That was one of my first questions, is that I agree. We all see firsthand every day how these things are affecting our country with the vaping, but at the same time, we want to make sure that our community is totally aware and informed of this new ordinance change. Councilor Levy.
First of all, I want to thank the city attorney's office and the city manager and the entire staff and everyone who worked on this ordinance. And I really want to applaud Deb Fisher and Youth for Youth to Youth, because one thing I can say about this organization, if they have a cause, they will come and let it be heard. And I guess the biggest piece that I love about them is you can disagree with them and it's not, well, conversation is over. They understand if people do not, understand and side with them all the time. So I want to say I greatly appreciate that. And then when they come forward with a wealth of knowledge. It's not we're just going to make a statement, but we have facts to back it up. I was also one of the individuals that was talking to the city manager and saying that we need to put something in place. That being said, I have to kind of agree with Councilor Blakely and saying I'm in favor of moving this to a second reading the next time we have it, mainly because I know the city manager has stated she's working with the new superintendent. What I'd like to do is take our time to, when it's done right. And I'm not saying that it's not going to be done right. We got a plan for implementation that gives us time to work with the police chief, that the next meeting when we pass it, everything could be set up to say, you know what, if we pass it on Monday, we can start enforcing it on following Wednesday or whatever, versus we're going to enforce it now and then work on a plan of when we're going to enforce it. I'm just the type of person that's simply saying when we pass something, let's have it go forward. There's no questions asked. Every party that's going to be affected is on board. I know the school district is on board, but I think that gives us time to iron out any misinformation or anything that we have to address when we implement this policy. I think that would give the new superintendent time to let his staff know, hey, it's coming. They've already had a first reading of it. Here's where we're going. We need to, look at our policy, make sure it's along that line. I know Sarah is already working on stuff, but that gives her a little bit more time. She might say, well, I want to tweak this a little bit more. It gives her a little bit more time. So when we pass it, all systems go. I know this is on here tonight, and I know some of us would like to move it through right away, but I believe in just saying when we implement it, it's implemented and we're done with it, except for the enforcement side. So I think I am all in favor of it. So I don't want anyone to be misconstrued that because I'm saying wait till the next meeting to pass it, that I'm not in favor of it, because I was one that was with the city manager saying we need to do something. I'm all in favor of it. I just think that we need to bring it back and vote on it at our next meeting.
Thank you, Councilor Levy. Councilor Quebec.
Yes, I guess it seems to me that the plan is in place. We were told that in our pre-meeting. There's already a plan We know we have professionals on every level. So I understand, Sherry and Kevin, your concerns, but I would go on record of saying I don't believe that there's going to be anything else that needs to be tweaked, and that Superintendent Monroe will know how to get everybody up to speed. So I guess I just have to say that I would be in favor still of having this be the second reading.
Vice President Anderson.
Yes, I would say that we really are prepared. I know our staff are well prepared to do anything they need to, and I know our police department will do everything they need to do, so I don't think having this pass tonight is going to make it more difficult for them. I think they're well equipped and well prepared. That's why they're our staff. They're absolutely qualified to do what they do. But I also think another important thing is today was the first day of school, and I think we should try to get on the right foot and start dealing with this today instead of waiting another week. Let's do it right on the second day of school. Let's tell them this is what's going on. They'll be well prepared for it. So I'm strongly in favor of this, and I think we know this is probably going to pass the next meeting. Why not do it tonight and get that information out sooner rather than later?
Thank you, Vice President Anderson. Councilor Christian.
Well, I was going to say I didn't find a compelling reason to suspend the rules, and I think when we suspend the rules like that, we should have a compelling reason. And Vice President Anderson just gave us one, so I'm going to shut up.
Thank you, Councilor Christian. Councilor.
Before,
Go ahead, Councilor President.
Debbie, I want to thank you and all your groups, and I know you and I don't agree on everything, but you are so wonderful about what you do, and you respect my opinion, and I respect yours and everybody, and you're doing a really good job bringing up people to debate their cause and pursue their hopes and aspirations without being mean or one-sided, or and an understanding and a compelling, personable way to do it. And I commend you for that, and I commend all the people that you work with. And staff, you did an outstanding job. I'm so glad this is on our agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Christian. Councilor Blake.
I hate to follow Mark with all those positive comments, which I agree with. I merely want to ask, if we do go ahead with second reading tonight and pass it tonight rather than at the next meeting, when will the ordinance go into effect?
It'll be September 11th, next Wednesday.
So with that said, we'll move forward.
If I may, Council President, and thank you. I apologize, Council President. And if you may have just been about to do this, I thought it might be important for our audience just to understand that the debate currently is over a motion to suspend the rules. So the debate currently is not about the merits of the ordinance that is proposed. It is about whether or not the council wants to suspend the rules and adopt the ordinance in its entirety tonight, or lay over the ordinance to the next meeting in September, which would be September 17th. Thank you. If the item was laid over to the 17th, then it would not be enacted likely until the 25th. So I just wanted to clarify that the motion on the floor is to suspend the rules, and that takes a 2/3 majority or 4 individuals on the council to suspend the rules. After that vote, then the council would either be voting to lay over or to adopt the ordinance in its entirety.
So thank you for that clarity. And I believe I'll turn to our city clerk, Stotler, because I believe there was in the motion to suspend the rules so that this could be adopted tonight in conjunction with the first day of school. There was a first and a second, I believe.
Forbeck and Anderson.
Okay, so it was first by Councilor Forbeck, second by Councilor Anderson. So with that said, is there any further discussion?
I'd just like to reiterate what Councilor Anderson said about we're probably going to do this no matter what. And I thought his suggestion that it's the first day of school, let's start off school with this clearly stated and get on with it. And we've been waiting a long time. All of us have been waiting a long time to get something on the books. We thought the state would do it, but the state, well, they can't seem to get politics out of their system. Anyway, we're going to do it, and we might as well just do it tonight, and thank you.
Okay, so any other further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Should we get a roll?
Passes 4-2, if I heard that right, with the 4 in
Okay. So, is there a motion to, what did we say? Okay, to adopt item 8E?
I so move.
Okay, so there's a motion by, was it Forbeck first? Forbeck, or was it, and then,
One.
and second, Vice President Anderson? Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, there is no business this evening under appointments, no business under items 10 or 11. And, yes, we do, I'm sorry. Item 10.
Yeah, we have.
Councilor Adams. I'm moving too quickly.
Okay, we'll start tonight with Councilor Prussia.
Okay, well, I'm going to start out because we had a very nice presentation from Eric, and I can't remember your name, but from at the Plan Commission meeting last and about the TIF and TIF 9 and TIF 11, and it was very well done. And as always, it's nice to know we're so well managed and our finances are so well handled. So I know you guys are going to do a presentation later. And other than that, I attended the Dirty Dash. I did not get dirty. And I have yet to look at my photos of it, but apparently we have an assistant fire chief that likes to play with hoses. I don't know. Nobody else got to play with a hose. So he was the only guy there all day. So he looked like he was having fun. So did the kids. And I've done a bunch of other things, but I'm going to pass it down to my next counselor and look forward to hearing from Eric later. Thank you.
Councilor Blake.
I want you all to remember that this is the big Saturday for the Beloit Historical Society coming up. Do you want to say more about it? Because you know the details. I don't know beyond the pie baking contest. So well, maybe I'll turn back to Mark for a second, and then I just have a couple other quick things to mention.
I will quick mention that my wife won't be able to attend the cemetery tour at 10 o'clock in the morning because she has to work. But she's looking forward to that. But she's also, of all the things I've ever done as a city councilor, this is the one thing she wishes she could do. And this is the pie eating contest at Beloit Historical Society Saturday afternoon. I was told today that there are 23 entrants.
Wait a minute, it's not a pie eating contest.
It's a pie tasting contest. I'm sorry. A pie baking contest. The contest is getting me to eat 23 pieces of pie, 23 bites even. No, there's the pie baking contest, and there's 23 entrants, and I get to be one of the judges, and along with 4 other people. I won't give you any hints, but I like my pie slightly burnt. Anyway, it's the one thing I've been asked to do as a city councilor, as anything in the city of Beloit, that my wife wishes she could herself be doing. So it's kind of a unique situation. But they've got 23 coming and maybe more, and that's at 12 to 3. I'm thinking right. Sounds right. Pie baking contest. They have to be turned in by 11, but I think the actual contest starts at noon. Yes. So anyway. Plenty of time for me to have some coffee before I go.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Sherry.
You're welcome. At a picnic I was at yesterday at Labor Day picnic I was at, a woman there said, I am so enthusiastic about the goats having come out to the Welty Center to graze on the undergrowth so that the natural prairie that used to be out there is free to come back. And this woman said to me, I really, really, really want the goats to come back. Do you know yet if they're coming back? And I said, I don't really know, but I know that on the Welty website, you can sponsor a goat and help bring back another herd this fall. So look that up, sponsor a goat, and when it happens, because I feel confident it will, there will be more goats, and you can help right now make that happen. And I wanted to put in a word to all our car and motorcycle drivers in the community. Since school is getting underway again, you need to be extra cautious with your driving for the sake of the school children. And I've been contacted by several different residents to talk to me about speeding in Beloit. It's something that many communities are going through these days, and our police are looking out. And yet, speeding still happens, as it will. The police can't be absolutely on every street every hour of the day. But please, please be aware there will be more children out on and near the streets. So slow down and keep us safe. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Blakely. Councilor Levy.
All right, what time is that fight?
Other people get to eat the pie, I'm just tasting it.
No comment.
Right.
Councilor Forbeck. Thank you, Councilor Levy.
Yes, I'd just like to say that I had the real privilege of being at a nearly 5-hour meeting last Wednesday at the CDA when all these wonderful groups who are doing so much for our homeless, for all kinds of needs of all of our citizens, especially those who are struggling with financial issues, come before us, and we need to decide then, which we will in the next meeting, of splitting up federal monies for these groups. And I'm telling you, if you get depressed over what's going on in the world, come to see all the organizations who are doing good things. Like I said, it's a privilege to be there. We sure wish we could give them more money, but we take this very seriously, and it's an honor to be able to distribute that federal HUD money. And also, I have to thank our staff, Julie and Terry, just did a great job there, being on top of everything and guiding people through and adding explanations where it was needed. So again, a privilege to be on this council. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Forbeck. Vice President Anderson.
Yeah, first off, welcome back to all the teachers, going back to our school year. That's awesome. It's very exciting to see the kids at home. And then the other thing is just that I went to Pride Fest last weekend. That was amazing, well attended. A lot of people there, and I'm glad that we have so many great community events that really capture everybody. So no matter who you are, what you do, or what you believe in, there's an event here in Beloit. So I'm really proud of you. We can do that here. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Vice President Anderson. I've had the opportunity to also attend Pride Fest, and got a lot of compliments everywhere I went. People were like, your council really supported that. They thought that was such a good thing and so inclusive of our community, and that's the kind of council we are. Also, I had a chance to attend the Greater Beloit Economic Development Investment Committee, so I want to give a special thanks to Andrew Yankee and Stephanie Bailey, our city staff, who are working very hard. You're doing a fantastic job. Also, in addition, I was honored to be selected as a new board member for the Wisconsin Women in Government Board and attended my first meeting in Lake Mills. Also, I went to the Business Summit at Black Hawk Technical College along with our city manager, and I had the chance to visit the children at State Line Boys and Girls Club and watch them play in a game of kickball. It was refreshing to see the children playing outside. I went there to turn in more funds in honor of Regina Duncan Day. So far, $2,836 has been raised, so we're nearly at $3,000.
Great, I think you just need a round of applause for that.
Not only did we raise funds, but we also donated books. So we were also able to give the children the gift of literacy. Together, we're truly making a difference in the lives of children in our community. This certainly works well with the efforts of the Beloit Literacy for Life initiative group. With that said, we're always looking for people to serve on one of our city committees, and there were a number of vacancies. I had those printed out tonight, and there are so many of those. But in essence of time, I would ask you that you just go to the City of Beloit website, or you can call Pam, our executive assistant, at 608-364-6614. Also, I want to mention tonight that the State Line Area Salute to Vietnam-era veterans will be on Sunday, September 8th at the Eclipse Center. Let's come out to honor our veterans. The doors will open at 4:45 p.m. And I know I got this time right this time. That's the last time I came in a little earlier and people were there. but that's the exact time it's time. The doors will open at 4:45 p.m. In addition to that, we have lots of construction projects going on throughout our city. So please, just like Council Blakely said, please drive cautiously and carefully, especially in the school zones. Also, on Friday, September 20th at 6:30 p.m., you and your family can join the Kruger Haskell Golf Course, Hutter's Pub, and the Beloit International Film Festival as Captain Marvel will be brought to the big screen in a drive-in golf cart movie night, which will be held at Kruger Haskell Golf Course at 1611 Package Street in Beloit. So, there are lots of things to do and a lot of fun things happening in Beloit. I want to close by welcoming our students back to school, and I want to give special thanks to Dr. Monroe, our new school superintendent, for reaching out to our city councilors and city manager, because it will truly take all of us working together to make Beloit even better and even stronger. And last but not least, I want to thank our City of Beloit staff for their continued hard work, because I want you to please know that each of you are very appreciated. There are many times that I stop into City Hall as the City Council President. I feel it's my duty to make sure things are running like they should, and our City Manager, Lori Curtis-Luther, does a wonderful job operating that and leading us in all these positive directions. So I just want to say to each of you, it has not gone unnoticed, and it is truly, truly appreciated from the top all the way down to the bottom council with us. So you're leading the charge, and we truly, truly appreciate that. Now, with that said, next we will go on to item 11.
There is no business under item 11. So under item 12, we have a consideration of resolution 2019-125 approving an amendment to the project plan of tax incremental district number 11.
And I believe our Finance and Administrative Services Director, Eric Miller, will provide us with the reports.
Thank you. So good evening, Council. The resolution that is before you tonight is to amend the project plan for TID number 11. And the amendment is to provide sharing of excess increment to our TIF district number 9. And for those that don't know, our TID number 11 is right down the street here at the corner. It's a small industrial TID, corner of Colley Road and Sager Lane. And TID number 9 is the mall TID. And so although that TID number 9 is currently cash flowing positively, current revenues and projected revenues in that TIF district will just not be enough to cover the existing deficit that is residing in that TID right now. And so by amending the project plan to TID number 11, it will enable us to be able to pay back the deficit in TID number 9, as well as being able to hopefully close and will close for sure number 11 and number 9 earlier than anticipated, which of course is a good thing for us. As we get the TIF districts closed, we get those properties that are located within those TIF districts back onto the tax rolls a lot sooner. And then that, of course, increases our tax base and then possibly has some rate reduction in our tax rate. And then one of the side effects of that, of course, is then being able to give us a little bit of flexibility going forward and possibly allowing us to maybe open up another TIF district in the future, as currently we're completely TIF'd out. We just don't have any capacity at this point to even open one if we wanted to. So the quicker we can get some of these closed, the more flexibility it is from our standpoint to open up another one to help bring more economic development into the city. So all of that being said, it's just a positive win-win for both TIF districts to approve the resolution before you tonight so that we can amend TID number 11. I'd be more than happy to answer any additional questions that you might have in relation to the resolution.
Go ahead, City Manager.
Thank you. As a point of clarification, and I continue to have to remind myself, because this is a resolution, there's only 2 readings are not required. And so this is up for adoption this evening. I just wanted to clarify that. I believe I may have misspoken earlier.
So with that said, do we have a motion on the floor? There's a motion by Councilor Crusher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by
Wait,
Councilor.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. What was the motion?
That we approve resolution 2019-1.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we have a first by Councilor Crusher, a second by Councilor Forbeck. Is that correct? Okay. Any discussion? Any further discussion?
Well, I just want to say, if I may.
Okay.
Thank you. I already started. My husband tells me I interrupt people. Have you noticed that tendency at all? Sorry, Eric. My
problem.
compliments to you and the associates for the very thorough project plan you put together for us. The details are very explanatory, so I have no questions. I
Great.
just want to extend
Thank
my
you.
compliments and thank yous.
Okay. Go ahead, Councilor.
I once again want to thank you at the council color map of the TIFs in Beloit.
You're very welcome.
That's like candy to me. I really appreciate it. I just love that map. I probably have to frame one of those one of these days, just so I can satisfy myself that I actually can see the TIFs now.
I have an extra hard copy if you want.
I can email it to you.
So, yeah, it's almost as exciting as reading about TIFs, but anyway. But it's very nice to see, and I'm really, the timing of this is going to be great. I have a feeling, thanks to the impending doom of another recession, we should have those retired and have some room about the time we need it. So,
Yep.
Anyway, this is all very good for us, and there's other stakeholders in this besides us, the county.
Mhm.
Everybody.
School district,
from the school
tech
district
college,
has some
yep.
benefit too.
Yep.
So, all in all, it's a good thing to be able to do. Good planning, going back to the past with Andrew and everybody
Mhm.
setting these up originally, so that we were able to do this. Because I don't think anybody ever expected, the TIF 9 to be positive.
Right.
It was just something we had to do because we had to do something. And we did it when we did it.
That's right.
Just like the gateway and everything else, we did things. Could have been better timing. So thank
Little
you very
luck
much.
doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, luck. I know about luck as a photographer. Lots. Thank you.
We have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? That's it. Motion carries.
Thank you.
So, now may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, we have first by Councilor Crusher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Forbeck. Any further discussion? Any opposed? Motion carries. We are now adjourned.